Hey there, groupies. Week 7 of Habit 7 of 777. 7 habits of the highly effective people. Habit 7, week 7. So it's our last session, our last unpack. So here we are, and it's called Sharpen the Saw, or Sharpening the Saw in Habit 7. Hey, Colleen.
Hello. Thank you for having me on again.
Oh,
great to be here.
Thank you for being here and sticking it out for the whole 7 habits with me.
I have really enjoyed it. It's been really good unpacking it together because, you know, just talking through things, sometimes it sinks in much better than just reading it. Yeah. So our conversations have been very helpful.
No, absolutely. And that's where, isn't it, where you learn, and if you can teach it or speak to someone about your learnings, it actually sinks in.
Yeah.
A hell of a lot more.
For sure. Yeah. So hopefully the groupies are all getting a lot of value out of the conversation, and they're talking and sharing and teaching themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, hopefully implementing it into their personal lives or work life, whatever it might be. There's so many great little tips and goodies within each of the habits, but they all interconnect, like we say, with each other. So, which really makes sense by the end of this chapter.
Yeah, and it's interesting, doing that reflection on how far I've come personally with, you know, that journey through those 7 habits. As we were talking earlier, you know, it's you don't actually realise how much progress you're making again until you actually talk and share.
Yeah, and it gives you that time to reflect. And I always say, when you're exercising, sometimes you don't know how fit you're getting until you do a fitness test or something like that. Sometimes you feel like
that's another one that sneaks up on you, isn't it? You just don't know.
Yeah, you never think that you're getting fitter or stronger or faster or whatever it might be, whatever you're trying to train, until you do that fitness test and you can see yourself improve, because you're pushing yourself more, which means you're working harder every time that you're doing it. So you can't, you don't sort of see those benefits. And it's a bit like when we're working on our minds as well, that we don't realise how far we've come until we look back. And that's our measuring point of going, I do actually see what I've done and how far I've come.
Yeah. And, you know, on that, one of the points that he covers a bit later on in this final habit was about the writing and the journaling. And I think that's a really good time to actually recognise where your thoughts are changing and, you know, what beliefs are changing and, you know, all aspects of your life. You know, if you're journaling, you've got that reflection point to go back and go, oh, gosh, look at my thinking back then.
Yeah. And it could be even over these last 7 weeks, just going over it, just even myself, just thinking, okay, I might even use some of those in my everyday life and seek first to understand and be understood. You know, you could do that in a work scenario, you could do that with your family or your friends. Practicing and it's just a reminder as well. Yeah,
for sure. And I think, you know, the sharpening the saw really, we're going back to the 4 quadrants, which was in habit 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3. Yeah, this is a quadrant 2 model or habit that we work on, and it's called, so you have quadrant 2 is where it's important but not urgent. So it's those things that we keep doing. It's like a maintenance program. I like to sort of look at it. That, you know, you're not going to, you know, if your car's run out of gas and you're too tired, you're not going to say, okay, I'm too tired, I'm not going to fill my car up with gas. So it might be, okay, I will get up and go for that run that next day, or I will go for that walk that I was going to put off because I need to do that for my body, because it's good for my body and it's good for my physical energy, and that brings me to where I want to go.
I think the other thing with that is too that you know, making that priority to, you know, put out exercise, our healthy eating first, and that we're locking in that time to work on ourselves, it actually gives us the energy and the focus to actually get through our days much more effectively and enjoy our days even more.
Well, that's where, obviously Scratching Records is about, health in all aspects of your body, of your life. I'm kind of calling it how to be a healthy human. And so being a healthy human means you look after yourself, but being healthy, it just makes everything easier. It makes everything better, like the way that you look at the world, the way that you feel, the way that you think. Are you doing things that make you happy? It's the big umbrella to leading your best life. So, and that comes from doing things regularly, having that balance in life as well, and just keep chipping away at it, or keep it as a regular commitment to yourself, and you'll reap the rewards from it.
Yeah, I love what he refers to in this chapter about the wood chopper. He's out in the forest sawing down a tree, and it's taking, he's been working on it for hours and hours, and he's just not getting anywhere. And he's asked, well, why don't you sharpen the saw? And he says, I haven't got time. And it's the same with every aspect of our life. We say we haven't got time, but in actual fact, if we invest that time, we then halve the time it'll take us to do something else. If we educate ourselves, if we read, then we're educated, we can achieve more. Our health, everything comes back to sharpening the saw.
Yeah, and that's what he said. It's the habit that makes all others possible. So that's the thing. Like quadrant 1 is that urgent model quadrant, that things come on us, that it's pressed on us, whereas quadrant 2 is us making those choices that reduce that urgency. So sometimes like one of my major mottos is prevention over cure, or rather than cure. And in your quadrant 2 is really your prevention. Quadrant 1 of urgency is your cure. It's too late to do the prevention. So what we want to do is maintain, and he said it's under 4 dimensions that we have, that it's physical. We work on our physical, spiritual, mental, and social / emotional. So which really does reflect well into Scratching Records under the categories that I have as well. But physical, what he sort of classes under that is your exercise, your nutrition, and your stress management. Under mental, it's your reading material and literature that you're reading, your visualizing, like your planning, even your writing, like you said, your personal journals, writing down your thoughts, and then you can sort of reflect back on, like you said, it's that measuring tool a bit as well, but also getting that out on paper, and being creative as well. The spiritual is your value clarification. So what are your values? What do you care about? It's kind of like that healthy soul part of you. It's what commitments are you going to use? It's your meditation, it's your study, it's your learning side of things. So keeping that mind active, and what are we learning, and stuff that we want to learn, and what's going to make us grow as a person as well. And then you've got the social and emotional, which is your service to the community, your empathy. So it's that synergy of everything around you. So I think he actually says in there that, our rent for being on this earth is
the community service,
the community
serving others.
So I guess it's that meaning, searching for that meaningful path that you want to take. Like, what can I do to help, or what can I do to serve, or where can I be best used, where it's not just about me, it's about others.
Yeah, and it really is. I mean, this is a bit off topic, but you know, research is the word I was looking for that they're doing into mental health, and that, you know, the practicing service and interest in others and empathy towards others is actually where we can reduce the mental health issues, because so much mental health is because we're spending so much time focused on ourselves.
And probably more isolated. You just had to look at COVID, how, yeah, with the mental health and that we weren't able to serve. We didn't
have the community. No. Yeah.
We didn't have that community around us, or
so the mental health issues that have escalated because of that. But it's, you know, something to keep in mind, that, you know, putting that, you know, our purpose here on earth is to be of service.
And how good do you feel when you've actually helped somebody else out, even if it's helping someone at the supermarket? You know, I think one of the things I had on the deck of healthy habits is pay it forward.
Yeah, and
coffee or whatever it might be. You know, that's those
faces light up. You know, and even the barista, when you say, you know, I'll pay for an extra coffee, you know, it brightens their day. Yeah. I think it, you know, it's that ripple effect. And it's even just smiling at someone when you're out for a walk.
Yeah, and there's like the energy that you get. Like, there's this man that I walk past pretty much every day, and he's got this great energy, and we're always like, hi, how are you? He's always, and we're getting to know each other now, like this tall, big, older man, and yeah, it's actually really good. But the energy, you can tell in him, he just has this really good energy and vibe. And it is actually infectious. So when you are at your best, and when you're doing what you love, and, you know, you're working on these 4 dimensions, and that's it, you're sharpening your saw, that ripple effect, as you know, that's been discussed, that can happen on other people. That energy will go flow on to other people. And like you said, it's just a smile or a hello, making that person feel good, or that energy just gets them and enriches them and lightens them up. So with these 4 dimensions, we can actually put them into the scratching records category. So physical is under your healthy body, mental is under your healthy mind, spiritual would come under healthy soul, and social and emotional will come under healthy world. So if you actually think about it that way, that's what it all interconnects, right?
That's what you've created.
That's it. I didn't even think of that, but yeah.
Look at that.
That's it. We're all on the same page.
Synergy.
That's it. It's synergy. So yeah, so basically the physical dimension is caring effectively for our physical body, eating the right kinds of food, getting sufficient rest and relaxation. That's important as well. We push our bodies, you know, getting out of that comfort zone, but also we've got to have that time to rest and repair. That's important. And sleep I will put under physical dimension as well, to make sure that
one of those really neglected parts of health, isn't it?
Yeah.
Our sleep.
Yeah. And getting adequate, you know, but everyone's different too. So you've got to find what is going to best suit you, because what would suit me with sleep would be completely different to Colleen or whatever. But find that optimal sleep time for you. For me, it's 8 to 9 hours. For some, it could be 6 to 7. Some people might need 10. You know, whatever that may be, but also what quality of sleep. Now, I used to religiously go to, sorry, we are getting on the a bit off topic, but with sleep, it's important. But I used to go to sleep with a TV in my bedroom and religiously have it on, put it on a timer, couldn't go to sleep without it. And probably over the last, 4 or 5 years, I haven't had a TV in my bedroom, and my sleep has improved. And I used to wake up more tired, just not feeling ever fully refreshed, whereas now I'm waking up a lot more refreshed. And sometimes I just tack on a meditation or like a really low-key podcast or something that's just in the background, feeding my mind with good stuff, but you don't have that blue light rays and whatnot. So try and keep away from the screens maybe an hour before you go to bed. That is optimal. I know it's not fully hard, easy for everyone to do, and don't let the phone be the first thing that you, or the last thing that you look at, and the first thing that you look at. Make sure when you wake up that, think about
it's the sunlight we see before we see the screen.
I know. How often do we wake up? Oh, I've got to check my phone now. Do we really need to know what's happened in the world straight away? We fill our mind, and that's your mental. What are we filling our minds with? Straight up, before we go to bed and when we wake up. So just bear that in mind as well. So I'd chuck sleep under the physical.
And that's, I mean, it's probably skipping ahead a bit, but that's where in the chapter he talks about, the amount of TV that your average person, or it's based in America, but the average person watches between 35 and 40 hours a week of TV. So a working week of television. And he says about the way what we're watching is actually affecting our values. So it's we're being influenced by what it is we're watching. So if we're not watching, we're not choosing wisely what we watch, we are actually really affecting our value system.
And that's what he said too, like with his kids, they come up with it, and they said 7 hours a week of television, which was equivalent to 1 hour a night, basically, every day. But also television can be good in certain ways, but there's lots of, educational stuff on TV or what is going to feed you the best, again, when you're looking after yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, look at those four dimensions. Is what I'm watching feeding that for me? And if it's a comedy and it's what, and you want to laugh, that's perfectly fine as well. But
it's really about the it's same as eating, it's moderation. There's a time for everything.
And rest and relaxation. It might be just your time to zone out, put something on that you don't want, but don't let it rule your life. And remember that you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang around with, but that also includes what you're listening to as well.
Because some of those TV shows, if that's what you're watching day in, day out,
I know there's a lot of crime ones and everything like that.
It has the same effect as hanging around people. Well,
sometimes people watch TV more than they hang around with people. So and I mean, there's sometimes people have the interest if you're interested in those certain things, but just bear in mind, there are lots of other things too that you could be doing that feed you in better or same ways that the television could. And then the spiritual, so that's your it's like your core and your center. So what you're committed to your values, what you care about. Like your morals, your mission statement, which we've talked about in other habits. So some of the things that you could be doing in there, like is your meditation, reading great literature, books that will feed your mind, even listening to good music. There's a Scratching Records playlist, we've created that it's feeding you with good lyrics or more powerful lyrics, instead of sometimes we don't realize what we're listening to. And even like hanging around in nature, which we talk about quite a lot in Scratching Records, is just being amongst nature and taking notice of it. Had my
I did hug a few trees on the weekend.
You did? Yeah, me too.
Yes, went for a forest walk. It was absolutely beautiful.
Isn't it? Like it's something that you can't explain, but when you give a tree a good hug, it actually does do something to you. As crazy it may seem, you got to give it a go and actually, be open-minded to it, but give it a hug, and it feels like it hugs you back.
Yeah, it's that vibration. If you actually give it time and actually really feel into it, and you feel those vibrations, it's very grounding.
Yeah, and like we said, sometimes even taking your shoes off and walking in the grass, play in the grass as well. So it's the spirituals is our purpose. What is it that what we do, what we care about, what we value? The mental dimension, it comes back to the management side. It's our habit 3. So it's accomplishing our missions as well. So the education, what education are we doing?
The comment he has in here about, as soon as we leave the external discipline of school, many of us let our minds atrophy. So we just stop learning.
Yep.
And our brains need that stimulation.
And don't they say that too with a lot of people that go into retirement because they stop working, they lose there's that purpose part as well, but then their brain isn't as active because they're not, they're not thinking as much because at work sometimes you've got to problem solve, that's good for the mental as well. You might have to learn new things. It's and then a lot of people say that a lot of people who retire and don't find other things. So a lot of people do go into community service and stuff like that, which is great, but don't feel themselves or don't do anything to help stimulate their mind, do tend to sometimes go it's,
and it's such a important part of Alzheimer's prevention is keeping the brain stimulated, because we don't want the brain shrinking.
No, that's right. Do those puzzles.
Yeah.
And they say proactive people, which is habit 1, people can figure out many ways to educate themselves. So a lot of people who have that proactive mindset will find themselves to educate. Now, today's day and age, there are so many different ways that you can do that at the tip of your finger. I mean, there's the internet. Not that we probably believe everything on the internet, but there's obviously researching aspects there. But you've actually got audio books and books. Literally, you've got podcasts. There's a lot of good documentaries when we talk about TV and stuff like that. There are some really good documentaries on health, on history,
travel, geography,
all sorts. So there's lots out there, and there's lots of different forms of it. So there's really no excuse in that way. But find what makes you tick, and I guess that's what your values and that, and then try and find something that you can learn about. And because this saying that we use a lot, we're either green and growing or ripe and rotting.
Yep, and there's at the moment I'm learning about my vegetable patch and what I should be planting when, so that they don't rot.
Well, good girl. That's a good thing too, isn't it? Like to grow your own vegetables where you can. That's another good one. So it's a quadrant 2 activity again, and he says, I highly recommend starting with a goal of a book a month, then a book every 2 weeks, then a book a week. And he goes, the person who doesn't read is no better off than the person who can't read. And he said writing is another powerful way to sharpen the mental tool. So journal our thoughts, like you said, experiences, insights, and learning promotes mental clarity, exactness, and context. Writing good letters and communicating on the deeper level of thoughts, feelings, and ideas rather than on shallow, superficial level of events.
Yeah, and how much time is spent in the shallow?
Yep. Well, you can think of your friendship group. How much of your conversation is just like
shallow? It was interesting.
Do you talk about the same things? Other people, you know, like gossip, or how do you go? Do you go further into it? Like, how are you? Oh, good. But no, how are you really? And then, or how did you go at such and such? Or remembering when they did something, and then how did that make you feel? Are you okay with that? You know, like, and I guess that's
that curiosity
and the listening of the habit, of that.
Listening to understand.
So you can see how it all intertwines with that as well. And then obviously the last one is the social and emotional one. So
one of the things that I had highlighted while you're looking at your notes, I had a peace of mind comes when your life is in harmony with the true principles and values and in no other way.
I had that highlighted too.
Yeah.
I
thought we search for so much in life, and that just simplifies it, doesn't it?
Yep.
When we're in harmony with our principles and our values, we're at peace.
And I think that's, when you, and this is a good way of verbalizing it, isn't it? Is going, when it doesn't feel good, but you go, do I do it? Do I not? But I'm not sure. Or there's things in your road all the time that you might be roadblocking you to certain things, but deep down you're not sure, but you tend to keep pushing at it anyway. There sometimes, or you're talking with someone, or you're not clicking with. It could be that it's just not a values match. And you don't know, potentially you don't know what your values are, which is another good exercise to do, is to find out what you do value. But you might not click with somebody and you go, I'm not really sure what it is, but I just don't get that feeling. And that could be just values match isn't there. So, and it comes from inside out congruence, from living a life of integrity in which our daily habits reflect our deepest values. And I think that's, when we talk about, when personal training, I had people come to me, and it's almost where it comes to that urgency part in quadrant 1. They haven't gone to quadrant 2. I need to do something, I've put on lots of weight, or I'm not feeling good about myself. Can be mental too, that was where you're just not feeling good inside. You get to that urgency that you have to do something. But if you understand your values and what you care about, your habits will start to reflect that. Because if you value health, you will start to do things that will make you healthy. So you will, exercise, minimum of 30 minutes a day, and that could be just a walk or whatever, it doesn't have to be a lot. That you make those better choices with eating, things like that, that if you value health, you will do it. If you value your time, you will make decisions that are going to best serve you to do the things that you want to do, instead of wasting time. Because if you value time, you're not going to waste it. So and here it is. It's from N. Eldon Tanner has said, service is the rent we pay for the privilege of living on this earth. So that is, and obviously spiritual is more in the service and community as well. Kind of like that giving back, and what's your meaning and purpose, what makes you tick. That's your spiritual dimension. Is there anything you want to add, Colleen?
No, the next part was like unscripting others.
Yeah,
which I thought was really important to touch on, the impact we have when we actually are there to support people, and we affirm he's saying affirm in a proactive nature. So helping people be responsible for themselves, acknowledging when they've done something great, or it's not just passing compliments, or, you know, to be helpful, we need to have the uncomfortable conversations from a place of love to help people be able to be their best. So the reflecting back to others, I think, is the, you know, the key in that.
Yeah.
That part there.
Yep. Basically, without sharpening the saw, you know, the other habits aren't going to stick because you're not continuously working on them to make that happen. So it's the glue that binds it all together, I would say.
Yeah, and I think keeping in mind the, you know, the vision of the wood chopper.
Yep.
And you know, not taking the time to sharpen your saw, you know, is a really good reminder every time we're doing something and it's taking us a long time, that okay, it's time to sharpen the saw. Whether it's, you know, do we need to do a course to get better at whatever that task might have been? Do I need to get more sleep? Do I need to improve my eating? Do I need to get up and exercise more so that I'm more focused? You know, what is that that's going to make me more productive?
Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, is like, what, maybe do a bit of a checklist of what some of the good habits you are doing in your daily routine, and what are some of the bad habits that you could look, because sometimes we need to, it's just as important to unlearn certain habits than to build habits. But, you know, it's just starting with one thing at a time. You know, what's one thing that you want to introduce? If you try and introduce so many things at one time, it makes it hard to keep going. So maybe look at one thing that you can unlearn and one thing that you can add, and start from there, and then you can keep adding as you go.
Good idea.
Just a suggestion. So they are the 7 habits of highly effective people. Now, I'd highly suggest that you'd have this book, highlight certain parts. You can always go back to it. It's something that I'm going to continuously reflect back to, because I think it's it's a bit of your guidance to life.
Yeah.
And give you so many different ways to be successful in all areas, personal and professional, if you want to look at it that way as well. So that's why we went through it, because it's such a good and enlightening book. So Stephen R. Covey is I think he's no longer with us.
He's no longer with us. No.
But had some really good insight and knew what he was talking about. So definitely take it on. And thank you so much, Colleen, for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. It's been great.
That's it for the conclusion of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Thank you so much for tuning in, and hopefully you're going to reap the rewards out of these little bits of information and great tips that are in this book. So good luck, and reach out if you have any questions or need to talk about anything. Always here. Keep scratching that record. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.